right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakodash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rakaya from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you with another impromptu lesson. And tonight, I want to get into a few minutes of this interview done by Michael Lester and Sean Ryan. And, through the spirit, I've been wanting to get into this for a while now, but my channel got shut down for a minute. So, we're just going to get into it today. Lord, when this is edifying unto you elect. Now the whole interview in itself is very informative. It's all prophetic. But I want to play these first few minutes, because it gets into something I've been stressing in the spirit often lately, which is this information age, that we're presently living in, which is actively destroying Esau Edom's hegemony. Is actively destroying the power scale of Esau Edom. As Esau is being exposed, his kingdom is weakening. And this is something that we're seeing every single day. As more and more information is brought out, now you have these so-called Epstein files that have been released. But as this information continues to come out on the wickedness, the backdoor deals, the debauchery, that Esau is continually partaking in, is simultaneously weakening his kingdom and weakening his hold over the earth. And the Lord said it would be like this. The Lord said we will live in an age of information. This is Daniel chapter 12 and verse 4. It says, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." All right, now, as it stands to this day, we're living in that influx of knowledge, both of the right hand and the left hand side. And as the left-hand side is being exposed, the right-hand side of the Lord is being exposed as well. Because as people are seeing these different things, seeing the different information that's coming out regarding the wickedness of Esau Edom, they're also able to see how that information was brought out first, many years ago, by the prophets that the Lord has set up, starting with our elders, apostles of Great Millstone. All right, the pastors, the teachers, the rulers that the Lord has set up in this day and age. All right, because our elders and apostles told the world about what's contained in those Epstein files, before it was called the Epstein files. Our elders and apostles told the world about the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip, before, it was widely popularized, by these different Christian pastors who are now starting to take a hold on the Bible. All of a sudden, these different people who are now starting to dive into the scriptures. These, our elders told the world before, the world of these things before all of this happened. Of Jacob's trouble, of Esau Edom, who the devil of the Bible was, who we were according to the Bible. So once again, it says, "But thou, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." All right, and we're living in that great day and age of knowledge. And one thing that knowledge does, is destroy lies. I want to get this in the GNT, actually, just see what it says. Yeah, I get it in the NLT. "But you, Daniel, keep this prophecy a secret. Seal up the book until the time of the end, when many will rush here and there, and knowledge shall increase." Will increase. That's beautiful as well. But like I was saying, one thing that knowledge does is destroy lies. It destroys fallacy. And this very kingdom that we're living in was built upon fallacy, was built upon falsehood, lies, deceit, rape, robbery, murder, blood. All right. This very kingdom that we reside in is built upon all of these foundations. Therefore, when the light of truth has come out through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. It is dismantling this kingdom, man. But let's get into it.
That information is lost. And even at the time, not that many people knew it unless you read it in a newspaper somewhere. Now, we're live casting from Venezuela. We're live casting from Ukraine. We're live casting from Gaza. The information is out there so fast and unfiltered. And then you've got people coming in and trying to filter it and spin to a narrative, right? I think this creates a whole different battleground, if you will, because now people can't just trust the government to say, well, you guys have the information. I'll trust you're doing the right thing. They're looking at, hey, I just saw this on the news. What are you doing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. They don't know how to deal with it.
They don't. And quite honestly, you and I have seen things in warfare, you more than I. We're broadcasting it into people's living rooms now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're causing PTSD in the human population.
And that's a fact, and it's also prophecy, because as this war is broadcasted, the war in Ukraine, the war that's taking place in Somalia, the different skirmishes that are taking place in Africa and Venezuela, as these the uproars of the people taking place in France, Paris, Australia, as these different things are being broadcasted, as well as these different mass shootings, these school shootings and these mass shootings that have been taking place more frequently here in America than the past 5 years. As these things are being broadcast into people's living rooms, into their bedrooms, it's causing PTSD. It's causing, it is creating maniacs. It's creating maniacs, man, which the scriptures say, because people are being desensitized, to judgment. They're being desensitized to war, to death, to bloodshed. They're being desensitized to these things. And it's creating a manic society, man. This is Matthew chapter 25. And let's see. Let me just type it in. Yeah, it's like in Matthew 24. I was in the wrong one. This is Matthew 24 and verse 12. It says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. All right, when you get this word for cold in the blue letter, it's Strong's G 5594, psycho. All right, it says, wax cold, a waning of love, to grow cold. All right, and the love of many is waning colder. We live in a very psychotic society, because all of this information that Esau is putting out, the good information, bad information, in between information, gray areas, gore, bloodshed, death, pornography, with all these different information that Esau is constantly pushing out that is readily accessible at the fingertips of these people, it is creating psychopaths, man. It's creating maniacs. Thus, as the prophecy says in Matthew the 24th chapter. All right? And I did a Google search. I typed in, what does an over-influx of information do to a society? It says, an over-influx of information or information overload exceeds the brain's processing capacity, leading to a cognitive fatigue. All right? And people here in America are mentally through. Mentally through. I don't even have to expound on that, because you and I, should be able to see that in our day-to-day lives. People here in America, Babylon the Great, are mentally through. They don't know what to believe. They don't know what they believe in to begin with. They have no foundation. They're tossed to and fro with every wind of doctrine. They're constantly being lied to by their government. They don't have the answers. They have questions without answers. And they don't know what's next, which is creating anxiety. The fear of the unknown. It's causing people to bug out. It says anxiety and poor decision making. Which you see that every day. All right. It's causing anxiety and poor decision making. It causes analyst paralysis. Reducing productivity and work quality. While inducing stress, burnout, and memory impairment. Now, through these last couple of years, the amount of burnout that we've seen within men and women, within the working class of Babylon is crazy. It's too much to count. The amount of burnout, the videos that are being put out about how people can't maintain even working 2 or 3 jobs. They don't want to work out. They don't want to have a family anymore. They don't want to take care of children. They don't want to go to work. They're tired of living. They don't know what their purpose is in this life. They're burnt out. They're finished with, life under Edom. I mean, we've been seeing this at a rapid rate. And this is because of information, the information, that is being put out, especially regarding Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, and these prophecies and the word, is really destroying and dismantling this world, man. Which is why it's a blessing and a treasure to have this word, because we have answers. We have the ability to decipher the information that is being thrown at our face every single day. We have the ability to maneuver and guide ourselves, in this valley of shadow of death. We're no longer subject to anxiety or mental or cognitive fatigue or analyst paralysis, burnout, stress. We're no longer subject to these things because we're now under the yoke of Yahushua. Now we have the answers as to why these things are taking place and what's going on, in today's day and age and where everything is headed. We know the end game, which is ultimately giving us peace through the spirit of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai. But let's check it out.
From seeing this, and that has its own set of issues and its own set of consequences.
Yeah. What other parallels are you seeing? Was the country this divided before World War I? Is that a parallel?
Not as much, and now I'm gonna skip all over.
Mm-hmm.
Not as divided as much as in World War I as it was prior to World War II. Remember, right before we entered World War II, before Pearl Harbor, we were very divided on whether or not we should enter the war. A lot of people were isolationist and like, hey, let's just stay out of it, not our war, right? Other people were, no, we have to go help. Pearl Harbor kind of galvanized everyone together under one opinion that, hey, we got to go. We were attacked. We're going, right? For all the right reasons. I haven't seen, though, I think we are more divided right now than I have seen or that I have noticed in history.
And that's prophetic as well, man. And the Lord said himself, this is Matthew chapter 12 and verse 26. It says, and if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then shall his kingdom stand? I'm gonna get Mark 3 and 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. All right. And America, Babylon the Great, is more divided than it's ever been. All right. And that's due in part to the information that the Lord has coming, overflowing the earth. People don't know what to believe. People know they can't believe their government, But now they're trying to come up with their own synopsis on what's taking place in the earth. Their own narrative of what's going on. They're trying to wrap their minds around the Bible without any foundation, or wrap their minds around what's taking place in the earth without any foundation, and it's leading to chaos. It's leading to, a divide. On one side of America, you have those who believe that voting will get them back into the right things, right place and order. On the other hand side, you have these people who are now rebelling against the elites and saying that there needs to be a regime change. Babylon is divided. These Edomites are divided. And like it says in Isaiah 19 and verse 3, it says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards." Okay? And the spirit of Egypt is failing. All right? That once breath, that Egypt had, which is speaking about America, the modern day Egypt. Okay? That little breath, that little spark that the Lord allowed Egypt to have is now dimming. The Lord is now stripping that breath from Babylon. All right? And it's starting to fail. The spirit is failing. And now they're starting to seek to that. And now they're starting to seek to their charmers, their wizards. That's why they're open with the witchcraft nowadays. They're open with the rituals that have been taking place. The different sacrifices and humiliation rituals, that these elites and celebrities have been taking, part of. Because now that the spirit is failing, now that the enchantments are no longer working like they used to, now they're open, with the wizardry. They're open with the enchantments and the sorcery. Because now we're at that point in time of the last stand for America, Babylon the Great. This is the final stand. But let's continue on with this video, and then we'll close it out.
We're very partisan now. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're going to get deep into some things here. I kind of trace that back personally. I trace it back to mid-'80s. Newt Gingrich was one of the first ones in our Congress that started looking at political parties as warfare and started saying, we have to treat this as warfare, right? We have to attack the enemy. We have to overcome, right? And he didn't have a monopoly on that. But before that, even though there were arguments in Congress, it seemed that people were more willing to negotiate and say, we both agree on the same outcome. We just disagree on how we should get there. Today, I don't see that willingness. I see it as more as those people are bad, mm-hmm. and we hate them, and we don't want to believe anything they say, and we're good. And then 4 years later, it's like, well, those people are bad, and we don't agree with them, right? And we try and undo everything. Instead of building on what has happened before, every 4 years we try and undo what they did, mm-hmm. right? And you can't do that and move forward.
I mean, it perfectly said. The very government that Esau has set up is contradictory to its own self. Here it is, you have a president that is placed in office and power for 4 years, and supposedly, which we understand that the real ones who are running the society are the elites, but nonetheless, you have a president that's set up for 4 years and is supposed to make progress within that 4 years, and then the next president that comes along actively dismantles that so-called progress that the president before him made. And that's a cycle that has continued over and over and over again. And yet these people still believe that there's some prosperity coming from this government. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's really a play on these people's stupidity, man.
Think about it in business. How would a business do that? Where every time you changed a department head,
no, it'd be destroyed.
They wanted to come in. Yeah, I'm going to undo everything they did.
I mean, we're talking about people moving chess pieces on the board all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, we just saw with Afghanistan. I mean, China's a huge threat. We gave up Bagram, super strategic location for a potential conflict with China, and we fucking gave it up. And now we got this guy in, he wants it back. You know, and it's like we're two separate, it's like we're two different countries. So
It is.
It's like we're a schizophrenic country.
It is. It is.
Couldn't have said it better. You know, from the mouth of, and this is from the mouth of two warriors of Esau Edom's kingdom. You know, two men who have been in combat, you know, against Babylon's enemies. You know, and I've came to the conclusion that we are the bad guys. We, as in these Edomites. Esau Edom, the so-called white man, you know, he is the bad guy in this whole situation. And they've been propping themselves up as the hero and as this benevolent character, when in all actuality, this was the wolf in sheep's clothing. But through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, now the information is out. Now the information is out, and now Edom is being exposed. This is 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, meaning the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord will not come except there come a falling away first, which that happened, okay, to us, to Jerusalem, Yasha Allah, the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, along with the speckled bird, are the Israelite foreigners who may come looking and speaking like other nations, but their seed line and their spirit goes back to the nation of Israel. Okay, that falling away happened pursuant to Jeremiah 17. All right, we fell away because of our disobedience from our land, from our language, from our heritage, from our customs. Okay, only now through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, we're starting to regain remnants and pieces, all right, of what we've lost, including the name of the Lord. But the name of the Lord has been restored in its fullness. It says, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. All right, that man of sin, the son of perdition, has been revealed to be none other than Esau Edom, the so-called white man, chiefly the elites of Esau Edom, your Rockefellers, your DuPonts, your Gettys, your Oppenheimers, all right, your Bilderbergs, those who control and mismanage the resources. Okay, it says, who opposeth and exalt himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. I'm going to jump down to verse 8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. All right, and now that wicked is being revealed by the mouthpiece of the Lord, which is his prophets. All right. The mouthpiece of the Lord, the prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, are exposing the so-called white man, are putting out the true information that needs to be heard and understood in the earth concerning the devil. And as that information is being put out, this kingdom is being uprooted. You know, so with that being said, you know, there's a lot more I want to get into, especially regarding this interview. You know, Lord wants us edifying unto you. Like, though, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakudash, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be